What's up, guys? Today we're back with another tier list. It is fantasy football quarterbacks today. We already went over wide receivers. We already went over our team breakdowns, quarterback breakdowns today. Now, you see I got the crappy tiers out of the way. F and E. We really are going to be not worrying too much about these players this year because they will most likely be on the waiver wires. The only time you really want to care about them is in best ball formats when you have multiple quarterbacks on a roster. They have to start each week. So Kyler Murray is really the only one we have to talk about. He's probably missing 12 weeks of the season, if not the full season, because the team is definitely tanking for that first overall pick. Their team is horrible. He is coming off that ACL, so they probably want to preserve his trade value and get him up to speed and not just re-injure him straight away. So don't love him, but in week 12 or whenever he comes back and they are going to play him, then he will be like a C tier quarterback depending on his rushing ability. All the other guys in this tier love Howell, Pickett, and Young. All have a little bit of rushing upside. It's just like the teams around them. I'd say Jordan Love and Pickett have solid teams around them, but the other two guys don't really. But they have more rushing upside, so it's just an A tier anyways. We'll move on to the interesting tiers, the D tier first. So we got Russ, Watson, Stafford, Daniel Jones, Jared Goff, Brock Purdy, and Derek Carr. So we'll start with Derek Carr. Goes to the Saints. Now he's got Michael Thomas to work with, Alvin Kamara, Chris Olave, Juwan Johnson, Taysom Hill, which honestly isn't such a great thing because he's going to steal a lot of red zone work. Kamara may be suspended for a little while, but the way I look at this is it's pretty much a Raiders type of situation. He's a solid receiver in Michael Thomas who's going to play similarly to what Devontae Adams did, except a little bit less downfield work. Chris Olave is going to be the main downfield threat, and he was amazing at it last year. He had the 20th most targets in the league, but he had the 5th most air yards. Like, he was a demon downfield. The problem is Jameis and Andy Dalton could not hit him for the life of themselves. Derek Carr is a guy who made Nelson Agholor look like a stud deep field receiver. So I'm excited for Chris Olave in this offense. Derek Carr, it's going to be a pocket passer thing, probably averaging like 16, 15 points per game. Brock Purdy, I like, again, because of the pieces around him. The only problem is we have to wait and see if he's going to be starting week 1. We are not sure about that elbow, so everything hinges on that. But if he starts, I love him. He may even move up towards the top of this tier. Jared Goff, he was really good last year, 4,400 yards, 29 touchdowns, 7 picks. Good from a real-life perspective, fine from a fantasy perspective as well. But with Jameson Williams missing some time, they get David Montgomery, they draft Jahmyr Gibbs really high. I don't think he'll be quite as efficient as he was last year. I don't think he'll have 4,400 yards again. Amon-Ra is really the only receiving threat on that team currently, so tempering expectations. Daniel Jones gets Darren Waller. We already know about that OP bootleg he does to get like 5 rushing touchdowns a year. He's got a little bit of that rushing upside. You guys know in fantasy football for quarterbacks, we need that rushing upside. It is such a nice floor to have. That's why you'll see surprise pick Anthony Richardson pretty high on this list. So Daniel Jones, we like him. He gets a little bit more comfortable than that new Brian Dable offense. The team looks solid. We like that. Matthew Stafford, you may be saying, oh, he's washed, blah, blah, blah. He was hurt last year. The offensive line was terrible last year. Now, the O-line may stay pretty bad, but he's not as hurt as he was last year. The elbow seems to be doing fine. His back is fine. Cooper Kupp is back and healthy. So I'm excited. Higbee's a good target. Van Jefferson's a good target. He has a solid offense, and this is an offense that, aside from the O-line, is not that different from the year before when he did throw 4,800 yards, 41 touchdowns. With a healthy Cooper Kupp, like, he will be scoring 30-plus touchdowns, 4,000-plus yards. I'm fairly confident in that. Deshaun Watson's another one. Looked absolutely terrible last year. Will not deny that at all. But another year in this offense, another year coming back from the hiatus he took from the NFL. I think he's going to set into that system a little more. Nick Chubb's going to obviously make his life a lot easier. I think he'll be fine. Gets Amari Cooper, Njoku, Elijah Moore is now on the team. Donovan Peoples-Jones. They draft Cedric Tillman. A lot of weapons to use there. Then Russell Wilson may be my favorite in this tier. He definitely is. That's why I'm ranked the highest. But I just love him from a full season perspective because Sean Payton is the QB whisperer for Drew Brees and short quarterbacks with meh arms. Russell Wilson still has a pretty good arm, better than Drew Brees' was at the end of his career. But Sean Payton got stuff out of Brees when he had no arm. He was able to use Michael Thomas a lot. That's why I think Jerry Jeudy is going to be pretty solid for the Broncos. But my whole thesis of the play here is Sean Payton completely revamps this offense. No more Nathaniel Hackett BS. He's going to tailor it to the strengths of Russell Wilson, so I'm excited for him. Now the next tier, as I said, it's going to be high. Anthony Richardson, Tua Tagovailoa, Rodgers, Kirk, Geno, and Dak Prescott in this order. Prescott, the far right is the worst in the tier. Richardson is the best. So Dak's the worst. Richardson's the best. Makes sense. Now Dak, if they had Kellen Moore from last year as the offensive coordinator, I would still be down to have him even higher, like much higher. But it seems like Mike McCarthy will be calling plays this year, and he's already said he wants to play strong, hard-nosed defensive football and run the ball, not turning the ball over. That's not very fun. The thing is, though, they have Tony Pollard, who's not like a crazy running back who can take 350 touches like a Chubb or Derrick Henry or whoever. He's not doing that. So if they sign someone like Fournette and Zeke, I will be very worried. But if they don't sign anyone, I am confident that CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, Michael Gallup, the new tight end they got in the draft, like I think they'll be a fine offense with a lot of weapons, so I'm excited. Rodgers obviously gets Garrett Wilson now. I think Wilson's going to have 1,400 plus yards, 10 plus touchdowns. He will fill that Devontae Adams role. The thing is, Rodgers has never been a volume guy. He is very efficient, but he doesn't put up the raw, like, 730 passes like a Tom Brady would do in a season. So temper expectations there. He'll throw a lot of touchdowns, I believe, but yards, probably not much over 4,000. Kirk Cousins, I'd say about 4,400 yards, 34-ish touchdowns. Very solid guy. They get Jordan Addison in the draft. And then they have TJ Hawkinson as well as obviously Justin Jefferson. So looks like this offense wants to be very pass-heavy. As we saw last year, the new OC wants that stuff to be pass-heavy. Then we get Geno Smith, who obviously gets Jackson Smith and Jigba in the draft. Now he is arguably the best wide receiver trio in the league. So it's like this trio could just elevate him to MVP status. They also have a really good run game. They draft Zach Charbonnet. They have Kenneth Walker. Who knows how the split is going to be between those running backs, and who knows how much of a 50-50 it's going to be between passing and running, but I think they're going to lean passing this year. The defense does seem solid as well, which tends to favor the run game, but I think the receivers on this team can carry Geno to an MVP caliber season, like 4,800 yards, 38 touchdowns, something like that. Then Tua obviously was on great pace last year before he got hurt. Tyreek and Waddle, the ultimate cheat codes to have on an offense. I don't really need to explain this too much, but those are the only options on offense. They got rid of Gesicki. They have like Braxton Berrios as the wide receiver 3, chosen Robbie Anderson as the wide receiver 3. So it's really, if one of those guys goes down, this offense is in shambles, whereas a lot of the other offenses have more safety blankets. And then Anthony Richardson. Basically, he's going to probably be terrible as a passer, but we love rushing quarterbacks. We saw what Justin Fields did last year. Anthony Richardson is even more athletic than he is, so we want to bet on the talent. We want to bet on the athleticism. It seems like Shane Steichen said they're going to be starting in week 1. They're just going to throw him into the flames, which is great for us because we want him to see rushing opportunities straight away. We don't want to draft a guy in the C tier. You know, he's going in the top 100 picks, and he doesn't even play week 1, but it looks like he's going to play week 1, so his rushing upside is absolutely massive. Then the next tier is going to be these 3 quarterbacks in this order: Lawrence, Herbert, Burrow. Lawrence gets Calvin Ridley. I think he could honestly approach 4,800 to 5,000 yards. His touchdowns have not been good so far. 25 is his career high. But with Calvin Ridley, an expert deep threat down the field, I think he could pass 30 fairly easily. I don't think he's too much above this tier. Honestly, you could even slide him in. But I do think Justin Herbert and Burrow are. So Herbert gets Quentin Johnston in the NFL draft. Now he finally has a speedy receiver that isn't really a deep field threat. He's more of a yards after catch kind of receiver, even though he's a huge guy. It makes no sense. So I still want this team to have like that deep downfield speed that can uncork Herbert's arm. Hopefully they can maybe transform Johnston into that type of role. We'll see. And then obviously Burrow. I mean, he could easily throw for like 5,300 yards. If Chase stays healthy this full season, same with Higgins, who both of them have missed multiple games over the past 2 years. If those two stay healthy, then they obviously have Irv Smith now, Tyler Boyd, Joe Mixon comes back, but they lose Samaje Perine. So it's like they kind of got to throw the ball. And we know they want to throw the ball. That's their identity. And I could see him he could pull a Tom Brady where he throws over 700 attempts in a season, to be completely honest. The next tier is 2 quarterbacks. 2 rushing quarterbacks with some decent throwing upside, especially for Lamar. So Fields, it looks like they get DJ Moore. That's obviously an upgrade. They still have Claypool, Mooney, Kmet. Now they have like a trio in the backfield of Herbert, Foreman, and Roschon Johnson. Looks like Fields can only go up. Last year, 28% of his dropbacks did not result in a pass attempt or an accurate pass attempt that's either a throwaway, a sack, grounding, like any of that crap. So he was very, very bad at getting the ball out on time to his receivers. If that improves at all this year, he could leap maybe into the S tier. I'm not going to say it yet because he definitely doesn't have the passing ability of any of the top 3 in the S tier, but his rushing ability is better than anyone's. He will probably lead the league in rushing yards this year. because the guy I'm about to get to, Lamar, seems like he won't be running quite as much this year. Lamar says he wants to throw for 6,000 yards. That's not going to happen, buddy. You got to beat 3,200 yards first. He's never even done that in his career. But Todd Monken, the new offensive coordinator, loves to air the ball out. They get Zay Flowers, Bateman, Andrews, and OBJ now. Great receiver and tight end core, so I do believe he could throw over 4,000 yards on top of 800 rushing yards and like 6 rushing touchdowns, something like that. We know Lamar is going to ball out. Now, the top 3, the order in my head honestly changes a lot, but I think this is how I'm going to have it. I think Allen is the 3rd because he even came out and said that he doesn't want to run the ball as much anymore. The offense doesn't want to do that. They signed Damian Harris, who's a great goal line back. I just think that he will still have 700 rushing yards, but I think we should temper our goal line touchdown expectations more from like 4 to 8, when in reality he could have like that 10 plus from previous seasons. I'd say like 4 to 6 is realistic. Throwing wise, though, they get Dalton Kincaid, nothing else. We're not sure. Like, Diggs is, I guess, going to play there, but he had his little spat on social media where he's like deleted all the Bills Mafia stuff from his account, so we weren't sure if he was going to play. It looks like the Bills are keeping everybody, so he should be good to go. We love Josh Allen, was the QB2 last year. He's very solid. There's nothing wrong with him. And then Jalen Hurts. They didn't ban the QB sneak, so Jalen Hurts is going to get another 10-plus touchdown season, man. Like, every time they get to the 1-yard line, he's just going to plow that ball in. He has decent throwing upside. He missed 2 games last year, so he had 3,700 yards passing, but he could easily throw for 4,000 as well as have, not 1,000 rushing yards. I'd say 800 rushing yards, 10-plus touchdowns. He could be the QB1. He last year, he averaged 25.6 points per game. Mahomes was 25.2, and Allen, I think, was 24.7. So he averaged more than Mahomes and Allen, but he is a little more injury prone than both of them because he's running the most, and even though Allen runs a lot, he doesn't really get hurt. He's just too big. We saw Hurts deal with the shoulder injury last year, so a little bit of risk there, but, I mean, easily the second best, if not the best quarterback here in terms of fantasy. And then Mahomes loses Juju, but Mahomes is a cheat code. It honestly doesn't matter who he's throwing to. It's literally, if he has Kelsey, he will make it happen. He literally set the all-time total yards record last year. Like, what can this guy not do? And with a pretty garbage selection of players on offense. Now, if they get D-Hop, this is easily the number 1 pick for quarterbacks. Like, easily. Without D-Hop, I think Allen and Hurts both have arguments to be up there with Mahomes. But as it stands, this is the tier list that I'm going with for fantasy football quarterbacks. I will be updating this throughout the offseason based on, a multitude of things that I see throughout the offseason. But if you guys like these types of videos, I'll probably do running backs or tight ends next. So leave a follow, drop a comment, leave a like. I don't even know what I'm saying right now, but, do it all. Let me know you guys appreciate these long format videos. Just getting into them, trying to do them every single day for you guys. So appreciate it. If you have any tips, let me know, and I'll catch you guys in the next one, boys. Peace.